And now it's time for Development Debates. We dig deeper into some of the questions shaping the future and present of China. Today, our debate topic is if the BRICS Development Bank will challenge the financial hegemony of the U.S. and other developed countries. The sixth round of BRICS leaders meeting was held on July 15th of 2014. In this summit, the BRICS Development Bank and the Contingency Reserve Agreement were finalized. These two institutions are similar to the World Bank and the IMF in theory. They're supposed to help BRICS countries finance each other and deal with financial crises. The BRICS Development Bank was created to fund infrastructure projects in emerging economies. The Contingency Reserve Arrangement is supposed to help these countries tackle a financial crisis. The startup capital used by the BRICS Development Bank will amount to $50 billion. Each member country contributes $10 billion. The Contingency Reserve Arrangement reached $100 billion. China contributes $41 billion, Russia, Brazil, and India contribute $18 billion each, and South Africa contributes $5 billion. The headquarters of the BRICS Development Bank will be in Shanghai, and the bank will be established and begin operations before 2016. A professor at the China Foreign Affairs University, Zhou Yongsheng, thinks establishing the BRICS Development Bank is a good way to break up the financial hegemony of developed countries. Zhou said in the current international financial system, most of the international banks are controlled by developed countries. Zhou believes that developing countries have almost no say in it. Although the economies of developing countries combined are about 40% of the world's economy, the current international financial order still gives them little influence. So Zhou makes the argument that if developing countries don't try to change the current situation, then developed countries won't do it for them. Zhou thinks the solution to this is establishing a BRICS bank with their own initiative. Zhou said that the United States is the largest shareholder of the IMF and the World Bank. The United States and developed countries have completely controlled the two important international financial and monetary institutions. The developing countries have had very little voice and very few voting rights in it. Zhou thinks the BRICS Development Bank is a good start for emerging countries trying to fix their financial affairs by themselves. Zhou says this breaks up the complete financial hegemony of developed countries. Zhou added the BRICS countries are developing countries in Asia, Latin America, and Africa, so setting up their own banks will be conducive to their country's economic development, and it'll drive regional economic development and social progress. He says that after establishing the BRICS Bank, the five countries can, to a certain extent, be out of control of the developed countries and gain a certain amount of autonomy, so they can take care of their interests of their own countries and their own regions. To a certain extent, the BRICS development banks can counterbalance the hegemony of the developed countries. The economist Ye Guozhong said, the goal of setting up the two institutions was set up to increase the voice of the BRICS countries in the economic affairs. But Xie also said the actual effect may be relatively limited. Xie said the BRICS Development Bank is competing with the World Bank and Asian Development Bank. The dollar-dominant status cannot be changed by setting up a BRICS bank. Russia's GDP is $2 trillion, India's is slightly less than $2 trillion, Brazil's is a little more than $2 trillion, and South Africa's is much smaller. In general, the size of these countries' GDPs dictates their inability to generate a new currency. Xie said the BRICS countries set up the development bank to de-dollarize the global economy, and that de-dollarizing is the first step in challenging the hegemony of the US dollar. But Xie doesn't seem confident the BRICS Development Bank is anywhere near large enough to bring that challenge up. And Xie doesn't address the idea the BRICS countries might be competitive with each other in regards to picking a new currency.